the thing. When you're swimming with something in the wild that could be anywhere in the entire ocean, but it chooses to spend time with you.
Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about the meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up.
Well, hello, and welcome to Bombastik Broadcasting with Kat, Kim, and Sue.
As you know, here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we believe in shining the light on all things bombastic and illuminating the folks who are stoking the fire in their souls one podcast at a time. And one of those people who are stoking the fire in their souls that we are very happy to have here with us tonight is Anne Gordon. So Anne is coming to us from Southern California. And she, so get a load of this. She's a whale whisperer, whale wisdom expert, and a retreat leader. Oh my goodness. I've never met one of you, and I'm so excited to have you here to represent the whales and the dolphins. And I asked Anne, I said, what lights up your soul? What gives you the fire? And she said to share the wisdom of the dolphins and the whales to make our lives so much more joyful. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you, Kath, Kim, and Sue. It's an honor to be here to play with you tonight.
Yeah.
We're very excited to have you, Anne. I was perusing your website, and many years ago, I had a fun time riding on a fixed-wing aeroplane over the ocean and watching all the dolphins playing with all the surfers in the water, and that memory is still very vivid in my head.
Yes.
And I was looking on your website, and it says, do business the dolphin way with joy, play, flow, and abundance. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh, I would have days on that. But yeah, thank you for asking. It's like so many, when we think about work, we think it's heavy, we think it's hard, it's tough, it's a bit of a drag. But when we talk about dolphins, there's so much joy, you instantly smile when you think about a dolphin.
Right.
But dolphins got to work too. They got to eat, right? But They do it joyfully, and they do it in the flow of things. So, for example, when we are dealt with a challenge in life or work, in whatever aspect of our lives, we tend to resist, to avoid, to do whatever. We come straight up against it. But dolphins, when they're in the face of a storm, for example, when the seas get really rough, and I have seen this a number of times with both dolphins and whales, in that they start jumping. They actually use the force of those big waves to carry them higher than they could go on calm seas, which is amazing.
Did you just get chills? I got chills too. I did.
Right? So how can we think about it? If we're faced with a challenge, how do we then go with the flow and not resist it, not avoid it? It's like, okay, this challenge wants me to do this thing. Well, let's just see with it. Let's just play with this for a little bit. Let's try it on instead of instantly going to fear mode or no, right? It's like, okay, maybe there's something here for me. Maybe there's a gift for me in here. Maybe there's a perspective I have not thought of, right? Instead of shutting down, it's like thinking outside of the box is a whole new way to think about life.
Sure.
And so when we do business the dolphin way, we're open to possibilities. We're playing with things. We're like, okay, let me see, do I have to do it the same old way? Do I have to make a lead magnet and make a funnel and make sales calls and all these things, right?
Yes.
Maybe there's a different way, right? Let's just see. Let's explore. Let's play with it.
I love that.
That is great.
How did you get started with these beautiful animals?
Well, I started I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State. Dad had a boat. We were out most weekends on the water. Every summer vacation was boating in the San Juan Islands. So I grew up watching the orca whales. So that was very special, obviously. And so they've been in my life my entire life. I had a high school biology teacher who taught marine biology was like, oh, now this is fun. And she was one of those inspiring teachers who I probably wouldn't have mattered what she taught. She was so passionate, and she made me realize that you can live your passion.
Mm.
And so, and it just
Isn't that
happened to be
magic?
marine biology, which was already something I loved, being out on the water. And we did live right on the beach. And so I had already spent a lot of time on and around the water. But then I studied biology and animal behavior in university. And the shortest version I can do here is I worked as a zookeeper, and then I worked training animals, wild animals, taking them out to schools and doing educational outreach programs. And then I started training animals, both wild and domestic, for the film industry. In the Seattle area, I was a big fish in a small pond, so to speak, because nobody else was doing it. And so I got to work on some fun projects. I worked on Northern Exposure, that old TV series.
I love that
Legends
show.
of the Fall.
Wow.
Air Buddies. I worked on a lot of fun shows. And over the years, I did that for over 20 years until I got hired to work on a film in Panama. Now, before I get to Panama, as I was doing the film business in Seattle, I started just one day, just like feeling the call of the dolphins. And what that meant to me was like, okay, how do I get out I want to spend more time with them. I want to learn from them. At the same time, I was also starting to open up spiritually and look within and start to meditate a little bit. And
How old were you?
that was I'm going to date myself. That was in 1999 that I started feeling the call of the dolphin. So I'm not good at math. I'm in my 30s, something, whatever that is.
Okay. Okay.
And early 30s. And so I actually booked a trip for a whale watching trip. My dad had since passed. We no longer had the boat. I booked a whale watching trip, and I just said to my friend for my birthday, and I said to my friends and family, I'm going to go do this. You're welcome to join me if you want. And we went out, and it was, there's 3 resident pods in the Pacific Northwest. They're J, K, and L pods is what they're known as. And every once in a while, they come into what is called a super pod. And that is when all 3 pods get together. And it's like a play day. It's a celebration. It's amazing. And we went out and we found ourselves in the middle of a super pod for 2 hours.
Wow. And you can't predict when that's going to happen, right?
Never. It may go for years and you might not see one. And it was amazing. And we saw every behavior possible, breaching and peck slapping and tail lobbing and, spy hopping and swimming right next to the boat, looking up at us. And oh man, it was amazing. It was amazing. And so that was kind of like the reconnection from my childhood of being with them. And then I just could not get enough dolphin whale time after that. Right after that, I moved to California, and I would go out to the beach. I didn't live right near the beach, but I would go out to the beach as often as possible. And I'd walk down the beach, and I'd see the dolphins along the surf line, and then I'd turn around, and then the dolphins would turn around and parallel me all the way back. Super fun. And then I've always had dreams where I was swimming with dolphins and whales. They would show up in my meditations. And so I started taking a program. It was a 1.5 year long program that met every 3 months or so. 6 weekends over 1.5 years that was affectionately known as Dolphin School, where the teacher, Linda Shea, taught us dolphin living skills. So I like how to live in joy and play and flow, some of the things I'm teaching you. Awesome. And we got dolphin attunements, and we learned dolphin energy healing. And so I eventually became a certified dolphin energy healer.
I did not even know this was a thing. Did anyone
No,
know this
most
was
people
a thing?
don't.
Oh my gosh, I feel like what a magical thing to have existed for quite some time. When was it first kind of discovered?
Well, I think it was through Linda. She
Mhm.
started swimming with the dolphins, having her own spiritual connection with the dolphins, and they told her that they wanted her to do this. So I learned from her. And now that it's 20 years later, because I took that school in 2004 and 5, I now am, she's passed the torch basically to me. And now I teach a certification course online where I teach people how to become certified dolphin. And I've included the whales because they're special too, the dolphin and whale energy healers. And that's super, super fun.
Oh my gosh, that's not taught in marine biology, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is definitely not taught in marine biology. But it's funny because I have this interesting mix of, because I have this degree in biology, right? I have this scientific side. I'm an observer that's just naturally who I am. But my brain turns what I see and observe in the wild into metaphors for our own life. Like when you talk about going in with flow and then watching them, the surfing through challenges all came through observing how they handle challenges.
Amazing. That's a pretty cool skill.
Yeah.
Through challenges.
It's amazing how it's fun to watch how my brain works and puts it all together.
Yes.
And I do love that.
With them.
I love that. I love that Anne has both sides as well, because I always love that mix where art and science kind of, touch the razor's edge in the middle. That's such a beautiful place. And I feel like so many things have that. So when did you say you studied marine biology? Was that when you were in your 20s?
Well, that was in high school. I had that marine biology class. And then in college was animal behavior and biology.
Okay. That's really cool, because I'm thinking of all the people out there that maybe have always wanted to study marine biology and now they're hearing about this. I wonder if it's a nice entryway to kind of satisfy some of that longing that they've always had. Maybe it was a call from the dolphins and not just a call to learn marine biology. Right?
Well, I think it's funny because I know a number of researchers and scientists who are marine biologists who are out on the water every day, and really they're out there because they love the ocean and they feel that connection, and this is their way to get out there all the time. And my way is to lead my whale and dolphin wisdom retreats where I take people who love the dolphins and whales but have never been with them, to connect both deeply on a spiritual as well as a physical level.
Love it.
So your retreats are in Southern California, not Mexico or anything?
Nope. Oh, that's where I live. But my retreats are all over the world. It's really, I go where the best possible place is to have a fabulous encounter with dolphins and whales. So, Sue, as you were saying, you're looking through my website, you saw all the different retreats I lead, right?
Yes.
So I do Mexico with the gray whales, because they come literally right up to the boat where you can touch them, you can kiss them. It's the most amazing thing. It's the only place in the world that wild whales come up and approach boats like that. And so then in June every year, I do trips to Bimini where we swim with wild dolphins, and the water is crystal clear and it's quite shallow, so you see the bottom the entire time. So that's super easy and magical.
Bimini, where is Bimini?
Bimini is in the Bahamas.
Oh, okay.
So it's a short, 20-minute flight from Fort Lauderdale.
Awesome.
Super easy.
For the East Coasters.
And that's the dolphins, right? Because the whales can't fit in that shallow water.
No, the whales don't fit in that shallow water. I mean, they could, but there's nothing for them there.
So the whales usually in Mexico, and then the dolphins in Bimini.
Bimini?
Well, we do Mexico, we do Bimini. I also do Dominica in the West Indies, Southern Caribbean, where we swim with sperm whales.
Those are the massive, massive ones, or am I wrong?
They're not the blue whales. The blue whales are the biggest. Blue whales
Okay.
are up to 100 feet,
Okay.
like 30 meters. And then
Wow.
the sperm whales are the largest toothed whales. So they're up to 50, 55 feet or so. And then I also do Moorea in French Polynesia. So we fly to Tahiti and then take a ferry over. And we're swimming with humpback whales, which are also around 50 feet.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we need to go on one of each of these.
Yes, please do.
Let's go to Tahiti first. That sounds rad.
It's magical.
Have you swum with any great whites? Oh, we're talking sharks now. Sorry, I was saying that, but I was thinking the southern right whale. Sorry.
Oh, the southern right whales. I don't know with sharks, but
no, we're not going on that one.
Right. There is no place where it is allowed or legal to swim with southern right whales, but I have never actually even seen one. Not yet. Wow. That is not on my bucket list.
Where is your next retreat? After we were just talking about that, I know people are going to want to sign up right away. Where is the next one?
I hope so. I actually have my next one for me is June in Bimini with the dolphins, and I do 2 weeks there, and it's very, very special.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I know I have a cousin who I think is going to be wanting to do that in June with you.
Yes. Do you have the places to stay, like figured out ahead of time? Do you always stay in the same places?
Yeah, absolutely. We always stay in the same places. The thing about a retreat is people don't want to like pay for the retreat and then go, oh wait, now I have to book my hotel. No, I try to get as much all inclusive as possible. In Bimini, we stayed at a beautiful retreat center right on the water. Some rooms are ocean view, and it also that the catamaran sailboat that we go out in every day to be with the dolphins is docked right at the center. Once we get there, we never have to leave the center other than out on the ocean and back. And then they also have this beautiful staff, and they hire these amazing cooks who cook with love and handle any kind of dietary needs anybody has. So it's like super, super easy.
That sounds
perfect.
Focus on the energy, right? And just focus on the dolphins and being there and the whales. That's such a neat way to do it. And you've obviously done this for a while to make it so simple, because that's not always easy, is it?
No, in fact, I was sharing that, I worked on a film that took me to Panama. And I ended up, this is a whole nother story. I ended up marrying a man who lives from a tribe who lives deep in the rainforests of Panama. Okay. And so I met him on the film because the film was about indigenous peoples. And so we hired them as our actors. But they still live deep in the rainforest like they have for millennia. And so I moved there and I lived there for 15 years. And I realized that while I was in Panama, it's one of the easiest places to see humpback whales, and nobody was doing whale watching.
Wow.
So I literally pioneered the whale watching industry there. And that's where I started doing my retreats back in 2007. So I've got a few years of experience.
Yes.
When was the first time that you realized that you could communicate with them? Or was it for the lady who passed the torch to you, or?
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I was learning the dolphin energy healing, this is going to sound crazy because I'm an energy healer, but I don't feel energy. I feel like I'm doing absolutely nothing. And when she would do the attunements, people would go, oh my God, that just knocked me flat. And I'm just like, can we get up now? Because I'm not feeling anything. No, that doesn't mean I don't believe in it. I totally 100% believe in it. I just don't have any physical sensation of it. However, when I started practicing and playing around with sending the energies, connecting to the dolphins and sending their energy, I started receiving visions and messages from them.
Wow.
And so for me, it's like watching a movie in my mind. Somebody's got to invent little sensors or something I can put on my head and plug into the screen so you can see what I'm seeing. Because sometimes it's so amazing and beautiful and so hard to describe. But they send me these messages, and so that's when I started sharing them with my clients, and it's really powerful because sometimes stuff will come through that that makes no sense to me, but it's not about me. It's for them, right? And so when I share, they're like, "Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense." I'm like, "Okay, who am I to know?"
Wow.
For example, one of the first ones was I had a friend who she was a swan biologist in Washington State, and she really managed swan populations and so on, and water wetlands management, all that good stuff. So I did a session for her, and of course I assumed the swans would come in. No swans came in, but a manatee came in. And when I'm thinking that's weird, but I told her, and she's like, "Oh my God, manatees are like my second favorite animal." I could have
Oh my
never
gosh.
guessed that.
No.
And I would think manatees are more like the whale and dolphin kind
Right,
of
for sure.
for you
Yeah,
to be there with that. Oh my gosh.
right.
I really like
Wow.
that you said that you don't feel energy like a tingling, because I think maybe there's a lot of people out there that dismiss whatever kind of gifts that they have because it's not coming through in the way that
They
the only
think
way
it
that you
should.
hear about it, like the most
Right.
obvious way. So it's really cool
Right.
to hear how it comes across with you.
Yeah, because I'll be in a group of people and they'll go, "Oh, do you feel that energy? Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "Yeah, no." But it's also cool that I can teach people how to be dolphin whale energy healers because that's the beauty. We all, just like you said, Kath, we all have our own way of sensing energy. And for me, it's like watching these visions and messages come through. And when they stop, okay, the session's over.
Wow.
That's incredible. And then you have a journal that you co-created with the dolphins. How did you do that?
Well, I just happen to have it right here.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
I've been dying for a visual,
It looks
and
amazing. It looks amazing.
It's visual.
Oh my gosh.
We did not plan that, guys. You're watching this. We did not plan that.
Yeah, completely.
nothing planned about this podcast, right? We all know that.
Not at all. So, the fun part about that is what I have done over the years is I have kept notes from all the sessions I've ever had.
Oh, you're so smart.
That's very
And so I
dedicated.
have it all written down. So when I started seeing that there were themes coming through, and so like in the journal, I'm just looking up all the little chapters. Oops. It's like meet your dolphin spirit guide. We all have them if we want. Joy, play, flow, as we've talked about. Being in the present moment. Transparency, one of my favorites. Unity, community, listening with your heart, and dolphin healing energy, unconditional love. So those are all themes that they talk about a lot.
Put it a little bit more in front of you. I'd love to see a little bit more of it. Oh, how cool.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Nice,
Lucky.
Anne.
Lovely.
Woof. Yes.
Yeah.
So then
man.
in each section, each chapter, I will explain a little bit about it, right? And then I will usually have some channeled information that is direct quotes from them.
Oh my
Can you
gosh.
share one? Because I want to hear a dolphin voice.
Well, it's not going to
You
be a
gotta
voice.
say it in their voice.
Because all I can hear in my
My
head is
voice.
like, when you say dolphin, don't you just hear Flippers laugh? How he's like, hee
Yes.
hee. Like that's all I hear.
Yeah, it's not going to be like that.
Okay. All right.
But I will share it because it's good. I said in this one that I just flipped to was, we wish each of you could learn to not take life so seriously and see your life for the school of joy it truly is. Each hurdle you confront and surpass is one step closer to mastery and nirvana.
Oh my.
It's so gentle and loving.
Yes.
Oh my
So
goodness.
gentle. And then, of course, with each, once I introduce in the topic, and then I give prompts that you can journal with, right?
Okay. So do each of your retreat goers get one of those?
They get this
Oh,
on the
that's a separate-
Bimini retreat. Everybody gets this
Okay.
because we're working with dolphins. It doesn't work so much when we're swimming with sperm
Oh,
whales.
sure.
I don't have a
Sure.
sperm whale journal yet, but
Coming soon.
right?
do you think that you see the same whales, year after year, or?
Sometimes, yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
Sometimes it depends. In Moray, it's really fun. I have my captain there. He's this lovely local Polynesian man. Loves the whales. He doesn't speak English super well, but enough that I can understand him. And in fact, we joke about it because in French Polynesia, obviously they speak French, and his first language is Polynesian, Tahitian. And so he and our swim guide will speak in French, but I always understand everything he says because I understand him and his passion and what he would, because he thinks a lot like me. And so, but it's what's fun is when, like last year, there was one whale that he and I looked at and we're like, oh, I know her. It's like, we've seen her before. And so we both get excited when we do see some of the same whales.
Oh,
Do they live a long time, the whales?
Oh, there's a fun question. They do.
Okay.
Most species live 80 to 100 years, so very similar to us.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins a little bit less, 40 to 60. But the longest living whale is the bowhead whales, which are in far north in the Arctic. They don't migrate south. And the longest one on record was 200 years old.
Wow. The cryogenics, right? It's that cold water.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so old. That's amazing.
It is
because you think
amazing.
such big creatures wouldn't live that long. Like big dogs don't live as long as.
True, big dogs live shorter lifespans than smaller dogs. But here's the thing: those of us who live on land and have gravity to contend with. But if we live in the ocean, like a 100-foot long being, it doesn't do very well in gravity. But when you've got the ocean and you're basically weightless your entire life, there's not that physical drag on your body pulling you down, because we are fighting gravity every time we stand up, sitting up, we're fighting it, right? But the whales never have that pressure on their body.
Amazing. Can we feel more weightless on land when we take your course? Because like you do talk about the flow, and so I love those moments when you feel like you're in the flow. And I'm an artist by nature, so sometimes you're feeling it, sometimes you're not. But it would be nice to feel like in control of having more of that fluidity in your life. And I believe that's part of what you're teaching us, and maybe it is that joy factor and that not taking ourselves too seriously, because that does weigh you down, right?
Totally. And so here's what the dolphins and actually the sperm whales teach about this. And it is to dive deep within, to welcome emotions as they come up. Ooh. Because again, we humans, when uncomfortable emotions come up, sadness, grief, anger, frustration, all those resentment, all those things we don't enjoy, that again, we tend to push them aside, stuff them down, and we all know what happens when we do that. That's not good. And so what they teach us is when they come up, give yourself permission to welcome them, to feel them fully. And what's amazing is that they release very, very quickly when you do. So I'll give you a little example of that in my own life. So I already mentioned that I moved to Panama. I lived down there for 15 years with my husband from the jungle, and it was amazing. And we are no longer married. So, life happens.
So
We're
sorry.
still good friends, but when a marriage ends, no matter how right it is, it's always hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was in the throes of realizing the marriage was ending, of course, lots of sadness, lots of grief, lots of emotions coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I was at home working on the computer, and I just felt this wave of sadness come up. And so I'm like, I could have said, you know what? I don't have time. I got to work. I got appointments. I got, all these things. And then I remembered what I had been taught by the dolphins and whales. And I'm like, you know what? No. I cleared my calendar for 3 days and said, bring it on.
Good for you.
Wow.
That's so brave.
It was not fun. But
No.
here's the amazing part is, so I shut down the computer. I cried, screamed into the pillow, the whole thing, right?
Oh.
On the afternoon of the second day, I felt this wave of joy coming up. And that depth of sadness was gone.
Wow.
And it was beautiful and powerful. And does that mean I can't still feel sadness? Of course I feel sadness at the end of the marriage. That's always going to be there. But not to the intensity. It's not unhandleable. It's not overwhelming. So that's there. So yes, you can feel lighter and less heaviness on you when you follow the guidance of the dolphins and whales. Because here's the thing. They've been on this planet for 40 million years in their current form. We humans have been here about 250,000 years. And the way they look at us is like toddlers.
Oh.
We're just like little 2-year-olds bumbling along, making a lot of mistakes. But you don't get mad at your 2-year-old because he doesn't know how to handle life yet. They don't get mad at us either, because they're holding the vision that we can all grow up and mature as individuals and as a species.
That's quite uplifting to know.
Yeah.
Are you crying a little bit, Sue?
Maybe.
I know, maybe. I'm like, are we all just crying a little bit? Because that's just so supportive and sweet. And oh my God, thank God for dolphin safe tuna. Because there's
right?
if you think about it, I feel so, that's probably sounded weird, but I'm so far removed from the ocean and from where you are right now, Anne. But I've always, I've always heard about how special these beings are. My daughter had the chance to swim with dolphins when she was a little girl, and I mean, I have the picture of her. I should have brought it down with me. But the joy in her face is amazing, and she, to this day, I think will say that that's the most wonderful experience she's had in her whole life.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And there's so many things that we want to protect and we want to support, and often we don't know how. I've even heard that dolphins are they in the same family as canine at all?
Not really.
Okay.
Way down the line,
Okay.
but they're in their own order. The cetacea, which is all dolphins and whales, are in that same group.
Okay.
That's so sweet, because just the kind of like you say, they look at us like toddlers. They seem so caring of us, and so like a deep friendship and kinship to humans, that I'd hate to see us hurt them in any way by being stupid. But
they don't even I'm going to take it to a little bit of a unpleasantness, but to make a point. Okay. And that is that if you watch that documentary, The Cove, where there's this horrible place in Japan where they drive wild dolphins into this cove and then they slaughter them basically, or capture them. But when I watched that, what I was amazed at is that even though the fishermen are there with knives and, it's just awful, the dolphins are not fighting back. And they are bigger and stronger than we are. They could bite, they could kill us if they wanted to. They didn't. And they don't. So they don't hold it against us, which is huge. Really huge.
Wow. That's just like the next step for them or something.
Yeah, well, they're highly conscious beings, much more so than we are. And they're not as attached to their physical bodies as we are. They see themselves and identify themselves with spirit, which is what we're learning to do. But it's hard for us humans to think of ourselves other than what we see in the mirror, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not as attached to their physical bodies as we are. And they can shift dimensions at will. So
I kind of wondered if you were going to say something like that, because to not feel so attached to this form, you would think that they can see beyond it, right?
They can for sure. I mean, I've been with them and then they're just gone. They're just gone. It's like, what the heck? Like, scientifically, that can't happen that we know of, right? And I've had friends where swimming with them, and all of a sudden, all their friends, the dolphins and my friend disappeared, but all of their friends, they can't see them anymore. But my friend was swimming with the dolphins. She's like, where are my friends? And she had this 20-minute swim with the dolphins. Then all of a sudden, her friends showed up and they're like, where were you? We were afraid you drowned. She's like, I was right with the dolphins. They were like, no, you weren't. We didn't see you anywhere. So they can even take us with them.
Oh, that's
my
amazing.
goodness.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Wow. Okay, so of all of this, how do you is your retreat like a year long? Like how have we not known about this? Is so great that you're here and that you're, sharing with our bombastic listeners, because it's always so cool. We say we learn something extraordinarily new every time we're lucky enough to be on with our guests. I mean, it's bombastic indeed. But so in a retreat situation, because I feel like that's the only way we're going to learn more, like as much as we need to learn, because all these little bits and pieces are just like tantalizing morsels. How long are your retreats, and what do you recommend them for anyone who's curious, or for like grief and loss? Do you have different specifications? Do you have to be scuba certified?
We don't scuba. My standard answer to that is everything I want to swim with has to come to the surface to breathe air to.
Oh, nice.
Lovely.
Cool.
So a snorkel works just fine. My retreats are generally a week long.
Okay.
And so 5 to 7 days out on the water with them. Some of them we're swimming with, some of them are just boat based. I do one in Washington State where we're observing orca whales, going back to where I began, which is super fun. But it depends on the retreat, the physicality of it. If we're watching orca whales on a boat, as long as you can get on a boat, you're good. But if we're swimming to the other extreme, if we're swimming with humpback whales in Moorea, the regulation there is the boats are not allowed within 100 meters. So that's basically 100 yards of football field, right? And so that means it's good that their boats are not like right on top of the whales and harassing them.
Yes.
But it also means we get to swim 100 meters from the boat to the whales in the open ocean.
Whoa.
Not everybody's up for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No floaties.
Right?
No noodles.
No, you can. Well, we don't really. If you need a noodle, you probably shouldn't be able to. Shouldn't be on that one.
100 meters. You can swim there. Doggy
Right?
paddle.
Not really. We have fins and snorkels. But on the other hand, the Bimini dolphin retreat is an amazing one, because that one, we literally find the dolphins, we slip right off the boat, and they're right there.
Wow.
And you can have a noodle. You can wear a life jacket. You don't have to be a super strong swimmer. We have 2 swim guides in the water with buoys that are there to support our weaker swimmers. I've had people go on that one that walked on canes before.
Wow.
It's a real, and we've had young children on that one before. I don't normally center my retreats around like grief or forgiveness or, certain things. However, people dealing with that, I often get people who are dealing with grief or a loss, and it's beautiful. The healing is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll share with you a story about one particular retreat participant. And this was in Mexico with the gray whales, they represent forgiveness, because they used to be known by the whalers that hunted them as devilfish, because they were the only species of whales that would fight back against the whalers. As I mentioned earlier, most of them just try and get away. But now, as I said before, they literally come right up to the boats. They'll bring their newborn calves, and I've seen the mothers literally push up the babies so that you can touch them and play with them and love on them.
Wow.
So they have literally forgiven the human race.
That's
for hunting them almost to extinction.
Gray whales. This is like Moby Dick almost, right?
No, that's sperm whales. It's the Moby Dick whale.
Geez.
So Moby Dick was a story. It was based on one encounter. But here's the amazing story from it. I went on this retreat, I ran this retreat one year, and one of the ladies who came, a lot of times I don't know who my people are until we get there. And they're on my email list, but I may have never met them before. And this woman I didn't know. She came on the retreat. She had a great time on the retreat, and she was a little reserved. She didn't really share much about herself, but she still had fun. On the last day of the retreat, she shared with us that 7 years prior, her husband and the family dog had been killed in a horrific car accident where the car burst into flames and they couldn't get out.
Oh, God.
And the most awful thing was that she was only a few cars behind and saw the whole thing.
And could do nothing.
Oh, my goodness.
Could do nothing.
Oh.
I can't even imagine the horror of that.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the miracle. On that day, she shared with us that on this retreat was the first time in 7 years that she felt happy again.
Oh.
Here's the thing about my retreats. You'll hear retreats about for grief or forgiveness or business or abundance or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to do a whole lot of teaching. The dolphins and whales do it themselves. I just I share wisdom, I channel them, I do group energy healings, but mostly it's about just spending time with them. And I've noticed how being in their presence just beautifully, gently releases what no longer serves.
Wow, this is for everyone. That's beautiful,
everyone.
Anne. It's for everyone. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Very infrequently are we speechless.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
I just need to let it sink in for a second.
Yes.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, and I would love it to, if you don't mind, give a free gift to your audience. And I talked about in the journal about the Dolphin Spirit Guide. I have a free gift that is, it's a guided meditation to meet your very own Dolphin Spirit Guide. And it's at dolphinspiritguide.com. It's pretty simple.
Oh, yes.
That sounds amazing.
Dolphinspiritguide.com.
That's it.
That sounds amazing.
That's incredible. And each of us have a different so there's different dolphins for different, because I've done like the Native American kind of pathway and found my spirit guide, and that was such a cool moment. It took a minute too. Everybody else, but mine took a while to find me. But so there's different dolphins and whales in this spirit. That's so great. Thank you for that gift on behalf of all of us and our listeners, Anne.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And everybody who wants a Dolphin Spirit Guide has one. And don't be limited to what you see in the biology books. You may get a pink dolphin, you may get a rainbow dolphin, you may get a, polka dot dolphin. It doesn't matter.
Love it.
The spirit dolphins can come in any size, shape, or color.
Oh,
Lovely.
wow.
Oh, that's exciting.
And if you don't mind me asking, can we go to Panama for a minute? How was living there? What was that experience like?
I love living in Panama, and I got to say, I love the tropics. I love the heat and the humidity. Even California is too cold for me after living 15 years in the tropics.
Oh my Lord!
White tops and shorts every day. I'm happy.
Oh, lovely.
But I loved Panama. The tribe was amazing. They're much like a human dolphin pod, where family comes first, community comes second, and work is last on the list. And talking about transparency, and dolphins live with their echolocation, their sonar. It's literally X-ray vision, and they live in transparency, and they can literally see inside your body to see if there's a pregnancy or a tumor or a broken bone, but they can also see your emotional state. Because of course we hold our body differently when we're upset or angry than when we're happy and relaxed, right? They see all of that. But in the village, they're very transparent as well, because they live in huts with no walls. It's just a roof and a floor. No walls, just one open room. So in the tribe, it was amazing because they would wear very little clothing. The men wear loincloths, the women these colorful wraparound skirts and nothing else. It's hot. You don't need much clothing. And so that everything is transparent. Even, for example, with no walls, if there's, say, for example, a couple is having a fight, an argument, and the voices are raised, everybody knows it. There's no secrets or lies in the world of dolphins, and there's very little secrets or lies in the jungle as well. So it was an amazing experience to live with these people that I just felt so much warmth and welcoming to. And one of their the first greetings they will ever say to you, even if they haven't even met you yet, is Manachaba, which means hello, friend.
Oh, Manachaba.
That's super cool.
Manachaba. So everybody's a friend even before you've even met.
That's
awesome. It was just beautiful. And when I was first in Panama, I remember going back to LA to work on a film. And some of my colleagues in LA would say, is it hard going back to Panama after being here? It's like, oh my God, the opposite.
Right.
Oh, right. I'm sure.
Rather jarring to come back to a big city. And, the whole film industry, it's all a false sense of importance. It's just a movie. It's not curing cancer. It's not world peace. It's just a movie, right? It's entertainment. Whereas there, they are so real. And it's just, I feel so blessed. I mean, I could talk for hours just on my experiences with them, but I feel so blessed to have had that experience in my life.
Indeed.
And excuse my ignorance, is it Spanish? Do they speak Spanish?
No, it's a good question. The tribe does have their own language. Their tribal name is Embera, and that's the name of their language as well. It is not written. It predates Spanish.
Okay. Wow.
Any modern word will be Spanish because they obviously don't have a word for computers in their language, or even cars. But they also all know Spanish. So they would converse with me in Spanish. I know a little bit of their language as well. And the older generation, they don't know how to read and write. And so my mother-in-law could not read or write, but knew how to read the jungle. And she could find any plant. She knew all the medicinal plants. She could find food. She could survive in the jungle where the rest of us would be like starving with all the food right in front of us, but not knowing it.
Wow. That's so trippy.
Incredible.
What important wisdom, and probably great storytellers. You probably fit right in there because you're a very good storyteller.
It was funny because they love telling stories, and they would love to rehear stories. Like in the evening, of course, there's no electricity, so there's no TV, there's no books, there's no lights, that kind of thing, just other than a little kerosene lantern. And so if there was a story that I had told that they really liked, and tell that story about.
Oh, that's cute.
That's cool.
Great.
Okay.
Or
my mother-in-law would go on and on with some amazing stories, and they would be long, fascinating stories.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah, when you've got time to listen to all the minutiae of the stories, whereas now everybody just wants to gloss over so they can look at their phones again.
Right. And I mean, I was looking at a couple of people who were promoting their own podcast or something, and they would be cut up in such little snippets because they say people don't pay attention to it, right?
Yeah.
We can't listen to a 2-minute conversation anymore.
No.
It's very sad.
And the little nuances. Yeah. I mean, I would like to challenge listeners at some point to hear all the oohs and ums and ahs and, take that time to.
Right.
Because that's part of the human experience, is some of the subtle nuances of language and storytelling.
It is. When I lived down there, I also did tours to take people out to the jungle to be with the tribe and learn from them. And that was their main source of income, was tourism. And every once in a while, I'd have people want to spend the night in the village rather than just a one-day tour. And more often than not, after we did all the presentation and hear about the culture and history and demonstrations, then we would have free time in the late afternoon. And all of these tourists would say, well, what else is there to do?
Oh my gosh, right?
Right? Because they're used to doing. And I said, no. This is about being, not doing. And sometimes they'd look at me like I was crazy.
That's so awesome.
But it's like, well, then go swim in the river if you want to do something.
Right. There you go. Swim in the river.
Like little kids. Trying to keep little kids busy, right? I mean, what an important thing to learn how to be able to do, though. Because I know even myself, sometimes I get a little shell-shocked with quiet, and I have to remember, this is our natural state. It's okay. Don't freak out. And then, before long, you get used to that and you breathe a little slower and you feel better. Yeah.
So, Anne, I'm sure looking back over your life, there were some places where you made choices that may have landed you, that you could have made other choices and not have had these amazing, experiences. And wow.
Well, here's what I would say about that. Yes, clearly, as with everybody's lives, we have crossroads, right? But here's the thing. Every major life decision I have made, there's 2 things to know about that. I always made it with my heart. It was not about logic. It was not about money. It's much to my parents' chagrin sometimes, but
Sure.
it was always with my heart. And even though I had plenty of hardships, we just haven't gone into those stories as like anybody else, I have 0 regrets from any of those decisions.
Fantastic.
You can't ask for more than that, can we?
Nope,
No.
not at all. I'm really grateful for that.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much the gold right there.
Right.
Well, Anne, I know our mutual friend Annie just absolutely loved your retreat, and I'm so happy that she gave us, referral to talk to you.
Yes.
What a treat to meet you. Holy moly. But here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. So I know we've talked about all your retreats, but is there anything else we can, do to make your life any more wonderful than it already is?
Well, that's sweet. We talked about my journal. I also have something really fun that I created from the channeled wisdom. It's an oracle card deck.
Oh, lovely.
That's a great
And
idea.
it's all different creatures from the sea.
Oh, lovely.
I love that.
Messages. So why don't we do something fun? I'm going to pull a card for each of you.
Yes.
Yay.
So we'll start with you, Kim. So I'm just going to thumb through and you just tell me when to stop.
Okay, now.
Okay? Ooh, you get the orca whale, perfect balance.
Ooh.
So orca tells us, embrace your darkness and light. Honor all emotions. Feel them fully to bring yourself back to perfect balance.
That's really cool, because that when you said that about emotions earlier, that really had me like, you know, I was going over and over that, and I was like, I wrote it down for later because I want to revisit that for sure.
Thank you. There you go.
All right, Kath, your turn.
The orc
Tell
is
me
black
when.
and white, right? Like a yin yang.
Yeah, it was
the dark and the
I put
light.
it back in here somewhere, but yeah.
Sorry. I thought that was so cool.
Well, they are evenly black and white. They have more white on their bellies and more black on their backs. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm
All
ready.
right, your turn.
All right. And stop.
You get gray seal. Expand your horizons.
Amen,
Ooh.
sister.
Gray seal tells us there is so much more to life than what you see close around you.
I love that.
Darling.
Oh, thank you, Anne.
All right, Sue, you're up.
Okay. Okay, now.
Okay. Ooh, sea anemone, stand strong.
Ooh.
Oh.
Sea anemone tells us, stand strong in who you are and open yourself to receive all that wants to come your way.
Ooh.
Bravo,
Yeah.
bravo.
I love that. Thank you.
You're
That
welcome.
is really cool.
Anyway, these are all that and the journal are all available on my website, whalewisdomretreats.com.
Can you pick one for you, Anne?
Oh,
I
you
feel
want
like, yeah,
Yes.
I wish we could help you.
Yes.
Great idea.
Oh, that's sure. All right, I got one. Ooh, this is a fun one. Lanternfish, find
Ooh.
your inner light.
How pretty is that?
Oh.
So
They're
pretty.
little tiny guys. Lanternfish tells us, don't let the outside world dampen your inner light. Let your
Oh.
true self shine.
As you
I
have,
feel
and
like
as
you've
you
already
do.
got that one in the bag.
That's so great.
Beautiful.
Anne's like, I pick that one every time. Yeah.
That's so great.
So fun.
And just for a second, you know, I was just, you know, that the reason why that emotion thing kind of hit me was that I've heard that before, like, let your emotions go, let your emotions, you know, happen. And I always think of it like, you know, sadness or, you know, grief or things like that. But like today, you know, at work, I might have experienced a little frustration. And always with frustration, I'm like, okay, now stop, you're being ridiculous, you know, and why don't I just let my frustration just kind of flow and be like,
Yeah, honor
okay,
it. It's like,
well,
and when we honor it, we start looking at it. We start understanding where it comes from, which then gives us power to deal with it instead of just like, oh, this feels icky. No.
yeah. Because I totally did push it away, but I didn't think of it as being an emotion as much. You know what I mean? But obviously it is. But you know,
Yeah.
Yes.
so crazy.
It's not big enough to take into consideration,
right,
sort of
actually,
thing.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Give it space or whatever. Yeah.
So something like frustration, because I think a lot of us feel it on the daily, and that is an easy one, like Kim's saying, to kind of, you know, put it under the rug.
Yeah.
Mostly maybe because you don't want to unleash on other people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But is that something where you could maybe, if you're feeling that emotion, could you excuse yourself, or could you hold it for a
Absolutely.
couple hours until work is over?
And then give yourself permission, right? Do it in a safe place. And sometimes maybe you do need to walk away and say, look, you know, I need a moment. I'm going to take a break. And you go walk outside. And if you're frustrated, you can go throw rocks at the wall or, right? Literally get it out.
Yeah.
Right? Or, you know how guys will go play basketball and they'll just, and then they're like,
Yes.
good, right? Because they brought it out. They embodied them. We women are not so good about embodying our emotions.
Yeah.
We're better at recognizing them and feeling them, but we're not so good at embodying. But sometimes we need to do that, especially with frustrations, like, just get it out.
That's so helpful because that's the way to honor it too, right? And honor yourself. Like even just throwing rocks. It's not like you always have to sit in that emotion. Okay.
I can go and throw pine cones in the forest.
Yes, you can.
Yep. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Maybe wear a glove so it doesn't bite you back.
If that doesn't make you feel better, nothing will.
Right?
Awesome.
Well, folks, that's it from Bombastic Broadcasting. Be open to emotions, be open to challenges, and be accepting of what is.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up. My man Mo said that the reason that the world fucked up is cause everybody lazy. Positivity is corny to them, but they still gon' complain about the bad going on. Shit crazy. So I just had to drop a little project. I don't know what the object is, but this feels good. If you too hood for the good vibes, sorry I ain't got nothing for you. Why should I?
You shouldn't. We out here doing the things that y'all wouldn't. Life could be a sweet ride. Proof is in the pudding. These guys with the weak vibes, I'll show them where to put it. Down bad, I was looking for the answer. Mind all mad, taking over like a cancer. Canceled the sub plans, came from up above. Told me everything we doing, showing love, and I gotta
wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up.
I've been getting so high, head up in the clouds. I don't ever wanna come down, but I gotta
wake up.
Ain't enough time to be down. Bust a smile, cause it's yet another day that I'm allowed to
wake up.
Feeling blessed to be alive, man. Not long till we thriving. Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. Most.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up, so much more in this world that you can do. Wake up, every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up, you keep shining, you keep grinding. Wake up, all is aligning.